What's up everyone? Today is a really cool video as I'm not going to just show you one way to make rock, paper, scissors in JavaScript. I'm going to show you three. I really wanted to create this video as I really wanted to show you the different ways that we can solve this challenge. One being maybe a more beginner approach and then some more intermediate approaches later too. Okay, so one game, three solutions. Let's do it. We're going to start off with an example that perhaps relies on the HTML a little bit more. And by the end, we're going to be doing everything in JavaScript. So one that is made fully in JavaScript apart from one div that we're going to inject our game into. Now, as always, I will not be focusing on the styling. In fact, no styling will be done. I've done this so that you can take the game, make it your own, style it up, go to the max, go crazy, put in some animations. Like, I really want you to go wild. And please do share it with me on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, whatever. So what are we waiting for? Let's do it. Please do like and subscribe to my channel. As you know, it really does mean a lot as it is the way that I can carry on to keep creating more content for you guys. Okay, so let's get to it with our first example. Now, this approach, as I mentioned, is going to be a little bit more beginner friendly, I think. We really sort of take stuff step by step and we don't use switch statements. We use if else or if statements, as well as just use numbers more than anything, as well as HTML rather than just purely JavaScript. So hopefully you enjoyed this tutorial and hopefully you watch the other two as well to show me which one you prefer better. So yeah, definitely let me know that. Let's go. So first off, here is my project. As mentioned, there will be no styling in this. So I simply have an index HTML file, and then I have linked my app.js file to my index HTML. So because my app.js file is in the root of my project, all I have to do is simply name the file. Obviously, it's a JavaScript file because of the JS extension. We are telling our code editor to treat this as a JavaScript file. So make sure that the script tag is at the end of your body. So there we go. All the code that all the HTML code that we write is going to have to be above this script tag. Now we could have used a DOM content loader in the app.js file. So I do that in a lot of my videos too. So that is just another way that you can work. So you can put the script tag at the bottom or you can use a DOM content loaded event listener. The choice is up to you. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to do, like I said, I am going to be working with HTML and CSS in this video, is I'm just going to put some H2 tags. So this is my first H2 tag, and I'm just going to put computer choice, and in it, I'm going to have a span to sort of break up that H2 tag, in which I'm just going to have an ID of computer choice, because we're going to want to pick that out to work with in our JavaScript file later. So we have the computer choice. I'm also going to have user choice. So let's put user choice. You can have your choice if you want. It's up to you. And then finally, let's also have a result. So I'm just going to have result like so and give it the ID of, you guessed it, result. So we can pick it out to work with it in our JavaScript file later. Now, along with that, I'm just going to have a button. Let's put rock in it and then let's give it the ID of rock, like so. Again, so we can pick it out in our JavaScript. And then let's have, I'm using Command D, by the way, to select that. And I'm going to put paper. Once again, Command D, so I can select both. And skizzers. Skizzers. There we go. So there we go. Now, if I open this up, I'm going to copy the path and simply go to my browser. This is what you should now see in your browser. So I'm just going to get the inspect up as well. Great. Now the next thing I want to do is do some logic so that if I click on rock, rock will show up here, and at the same time, a computer choice will be generated, and then we can figure out who's won or lost. So for this, I'm now going to have to go to my JavaScript file. So in here, the first thing I'm going to do is actually pick out all the elements with these IDs. So I'm picking out essentially the span, and I'm doing it by the ID. So I'm going to use document get element by ID. I could use query selector. I'll show you how to do that in another lesson, but I'm simply just going to pick out computer choice like this, and I'm going to store it as const computer choice so we can work with that element in our JavaScript. Let's do the same for user choice. So once again, I'm simply picking out this span based by the ID. So that's what I'm doing. And let's save this as user choice. And let's do the same for the result, of course. So I'm actually just going to copy this. Let's call this result display, and then pick it out by the ID of result, because that's what this is. It's an ID of result. Great. So we've done that. The next thing I want to do is actually get all the possible choices. So there's many ways I can do it. This is the way that I'm going to show you for this tutorial. Const possible choices. And I'm actually going to use a query selector to get all of them. So document query selector all, and I'm going to pick out everything in here that is a button element. Okay, one thing I could have done is given this as a class name of button, and if I gave that same class name to all of these, I could pick it out by class name. But as I only have 3 buttons here, and I don't plan on putting any more buttons here, okay, so keep that in mind when you're styling it up. If you want to add more buttons in here, perhaps use the class name on those buttons. Otherwise, this is going to pick up that button that you create. So const possible choices. I've picked out all the buttons so I can use them. Now I'm going to grab the buttons, possible choices, and for each button, or I can call it a possible choice, whatever you want, possible choice. I want to, I'm just going to minimize this because we don't really need that. For each possible choice, I'm going to grab each possible choice and use add event listener to listen out for a click. So if I click any of the buttons, I want essentially something to happen. Okay, so I want this, we can pass through a function. I'm literally just going to pass through a function like so. And then what I want to happen is, well, I want to pass through the event. So E for event. And then I want to actually get the target ID. So whatever I click, I want to get the ID. And I want to save that as the user choice. But I want to save it globally, okay? So I'm just going to put let user choice so we can access it wherever. So whatever the target ID is, I'm saving it to user choice, which is going to save it here. So I can use it in my file. So that is what I am storing. So the next thing I could do is actually get the user choice. Maybe we should rename this because user choice display, because we now have 2 user choice, that you can't have that display. So now I'm going to get the user choice display, and using the property of inner HTML, I'm once again just going to assign it the user choice. Okay, so let's see if that works. Click scissors, click paper, click rock. Nice. Let's carry on. I'm just going to actually put a space there. Oops, not there. What am I doing? You computer choice space, result space. Okay. So we are displaying the user choice. The next thing that I said I want to do is generate a computer choice. So let's write a function that's called generate computer choice. Okay, what's that function going to look like? Generate computer choice. So what I actually want to happen here is I want to get a random number, right? So I can use const random number, and then I'm going to use math random and then multiply it by, I can use the number 3, sure, if that's what I want. I can also use possible choices length. Okay, so that is the same as just simply putting the number 3. But for beginners, I'll just keep it as 3 for now. Again, like maybe I'll just put, or you can use possible choices length, as that will return a 3. Okay. So now that we've got a random number, I actually need to wrap this in Mathfloor to round down that random number, because that'll give me a random number, okay? And then we want to make sure that it's a full integer. Let's check that. Random number. So that will give me a random number that's actually from 0 to 2 as we count in indexes. So I could just get this and add 1 just for readability if I wanted to. So now let's check this. 1, 3, 2, 2. So it'll always be either 1 or 2 or a 3, right? So there we go. So now if random number deeply equals 1, let's say that computer choice equals rock. I'm just making that up. It could be scissors. Let computer choice. And then if random number equals 2, say scissors. And if random number equals 3, let's say paper. Okay? So, and then let's actually get the computer choice. So computer choice display inner HTML and just show the computer choice. So now, there we go. Great. Cool. Okay, so we're randomly generating computer choice and randomly generating a choice for us. As I said, I've done it this way as I think it's beginner friendly. However, there is a much neater way we could do all of this that wouldn't involve saying equals 1, equals 2, equals 3, which I'm really excited to show you. But I think as a beginner, this probably might make a lot more sense and is more readable. But you know, let me know. Okay, so now that we've done that, let's actually get the result. So I'm going to write another function get result. Now, if computer choice deeply equals, or equals, up to you, user choice, well, then return, we'll get the result. So let result, and then we will say it's a draw. However, oops. So that is 1. Now, if computer choice this time equals rock, oops, and user choice equals, let's say, paper, then who wins? Then you lost, right? Computer, rock, paper, yeah, fine. Now we have rock and scissors. Well, then you lost again. And then we have Actually, no, you win. You win here. Computer is rock, but you have paper, you win. Should really learn how to play rock, paper, scissors. Computer has rock, but you have scissors, you lose. If computer has paper and you have scissors, you win. If computer has paper but you have rock, you lose. What else is there? If computer has scissors and you have rock, you win. And then if computer has scissors but you have paper, scissors, paper, you lose. I think that's right. Oh my god. Okay. Cool. So now that we've got the result, get result, we've got the function get result, I'm just going to put it in here too. So great. Every time we click, we do all of this essentially. Now I could move this function out if I wanted to, or I could just keep it there. The choice is totally up to you. So now let's have a go. Scissors, the computer chose paper. Oh wait, the result's not showing. We didn't do inner let's get the result display in an HTML result. Cool. So paper. Oh, you lose. Scissors. I chose scissors, computer chose rock, so I lost. I chose rock, computer chose scissors, I win. Cool. It's a draw. Amazing. So that is how I would show you how to make rock, paper, scissors as a beginner. As I mentioned, please take this go wild, improve it as you wish. I did do it so it's quite verbose and it's quite easy to read. And of course, I did these random numbers here because I just thought, again, it was more readable for a beginner. So if you are a beginner, let me know what you think. Is this clear enough for you? I'm going to move on. So once again, no styling, of course. Let's do it. Okay, so example number 2. This time we're going to be relying less on the HTML, and I'm also going to be using functional expressions as well as simplifying some of the logic we did earlier to make it a little bit, I guess, more neater. So let's go. Right, so the first thing you'll see is I have my index.html set up exactly the same. So once again, my app.js file is linked with my script tag. I've just named it the same as, you know, it's in the root of my project, so I don't need to do much, just put the file name in there. And of course, make sure that it is at the bottom of my body. And all the code, even though, like I said, there's not going to be much, I'm literally just going to put a div with the ID of game. And basically our JavaScript is going to populate this with elements, okay? So let's do it. Let's go to our app.js file. Now the first thing I want to do is actually, what should we do first? I'm going to create elements. So this is how you would create elements. Const user choice display. And I'm going to use document. I'm going to use create element. So that's a JavaScript method in which I can create a h1 tag. Okay, so there we go. I've created it. User choice display. I've created an h1 tag. I'm also going to create another h1 tag for the computer choice display. And then, of course, I'm going to create a result display too. Result display, and I'm going to create another h1 tag. Now I'm going to actually grab this element with the ID of game. So what I'm going to do is call this game grid, and use document get element by ID to grab the game ID, which is attached obviously to this div. And now that I have grabbed that, I want to put all of these three things into my game grid. So I would do so by getting game grid and using append, so another JavaScript method, to put in the user choice display, the computer choice display, and the result display. Okay? So that's how you would do that. If I now, oops, let's go here. Let's also copy the path, just paste it in here. Now, if I actually inspect the body, go into my div with the idea game, you'll see the 3 h1 tags that I've just put in using JavaScript. Cool. Let's carry on. Once again, I'm just going to make this smaller. So now that we've done that, let's define our choices. So I'm just going to make an array of rock, paper, scissors. Cool. The next thing I want to do is, what do I want to do? I want to, okay. I'm going to add the buttons now. So I could do this with a for each, but I'm going to do it with a for loop just to show you something different. So as long as for let I, as long as I is smaller than the choice's length, so technically number 3, I want to increment I by 1. Okay, so I'm going to loop, and I'm looping because I want to create 3 buttons. So similarly to how we use document create element, I'm actually going to use it again, so const button. I'm using const because it's block scoped. I can use a const document create element, and I want to create a button. Now for each time, so I've created a button once, this is my first loop, I've created the button, and I'm going to grab the button and I want to give an ID, and I want to give the ID of choices and whatever in our first loop is. So it's going to give, on our first loop, I'm going to give the button ID of rock. Okay, on the second loop, I'm going to create a button and give an ID of paper. On the third loop, I'm going to create another button and give an ID of scissors. And then of course, I can also do, give it some inner HTML. So once again, I'm going to do choices like so. So we've given an idea, we've given an ID, we've given it some inner HTML. The last thing I want to do to my button is, yeah, that's right, add event listener to it to listen out for any time we click. And each time we click, I want to call the function handle click. So we haven't done that yet, so I'm going to write this function up here. I'm going to use a function expression, so a const handle click, like so. So before we wrote function, this is a function expression. I'm just going to pass through an event. Well, actually for now, I'm just going to put console log clicked. Okay, so we've done all that, and the last thing we need to do is append it. So you guessed it, we need to get the game grid, and we're going to use append. We can use append child to put in the newly created button. So now, if I go here, there we go. We've made the 3 buttons in JavaScript, we've given them an ID, and then we've also given them some inner HTML. So as you can see, it has an ID of rock and also has an inner HTML of rock. And also if we click it, it will say clicked, 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 clicked. Cool. Amazing. So now let's think about what else we want to happen when we actually click it, right? So similarly like to before, we of course need to pass E. So whatever we click, whichever the buttons we click, that's going to be our user choice, right? So I'm just going to store this up here as let user choice. And whatever we click, so that's going to be the E events target. I could use the ID, and that's probably better practice, but I could just use the inner HTML. It doesn't make a difference. If I just want to use the inner HTML, I can technically get rid of that. So I'm just going to make a note of that. You can delete this if you want to use target HTML in the handle click. Okay? But I'm just going to use the ID for now. I think it's better practice anyway. Cool. So we've now stored, whatever we click is now stored as our user choice. What else do we need to have? When we click something, then we need to display it, right? So user choice display inner HTML. And then let's show the, well, we'll show the user choice to the, I guess, player. So now that we've done that, well, let's see if it works for now. So scissors, paper, rock. Scissors, paper, rock. Scissors, paper, rock. Cool. Now we also want to generate computer choice. Generate computer choice. And that's going to be a function that we are yet to write. So I'm actually going to do it here. We're also going to have to get the result, check the results, remember. So const generate computer choice. And once again, so this is going to be like an alternative to how we did it before. I think it's a much neater way, but you be the judge on that. So once again, we need a random choice, right? It can be a const because this is block scoped. It does not need to be a let. Const random choice. For this, well, once again, I am going to use math random, and I am going to multiply it by the choices array length. So this will return a 3 because there's 1, 2, 3 items in here. I've grabbed this array and used the length property on it to figure out how many items in my array. So I'm going to do that. And once again, I am going to use math floor to round it down. So now, if you remember, I will be getting an index number from 0 to 2, 0, 1, 2. So that's 3 choices that will come out of this. And what I am going to do instead is just put this, because this will generate either a 0, a 1, a 2, or a 3. What I'm going to do is put it into my choices array. So I'm going to get my choices array and open it up with square brackets. Because if I was to get this array and pass through a 0, I would get a rock. If I was to pass through a 1, it would return paper. And if I was to pass through a 2, it would return the string scissors. Okay? So I think that's much neater than what we did before, but just let me know what you think. So we've got our random choice. It will return either rock, paper, scissors. And I'm going to get the computer choice display and do inner HTML and then just show my random choice. Cool. So now we're getting 2. Nice. Obviously, we can't really tell whose is whose. So we can do that here. User choice. Like so, and then do add. And then I can also do computer choice. Like so. Ta-da! Whee! Okay, now let's get the results. Now we actually need to store a computer choice up here so we can compare the two. So I'm going to do computer choice like so, and maybe let's do computer choice. And whatever the random choice is now the computer choice. So we're getting a random choice, we're assigning it to computer choice. And now I could keep random choice there, but I think it's neater if I just do computer choice like so. Okay. Now let's do some results. So I'm going to do this down here. I'm going to write const check or get results. What did we write before? Get results. Just it's consistent. I think we did get result before as the function name. So to get the results, I'm actually going to use a switch statement for this. And whatever user choice is, the string user choice plus the computer choice. Now, so I'm going to write case, if it returns scissor paper, because obviously I'm getting one string and just adding it to another string. So if that's what it returns, if the user choice is scissors and the computer choice is paper, or, oops. We've got scissors, paper, and then we also want rock, scissors, rock, scissors. I hope I'm spelling all this right. Rock, scissors. And then we also have paper, rock. Then we want result display inner HTML to equal you win. Right? Because scissor beats paper, rock beats scissors, paper beats rock. That's right, yeah. And then we want a break. Cool. So now again, let's just write another one of these. Ooh, that's horrible. Why did that happen? So this time, let's write a losing case for us as the user, and that's if paper skiz. So I'm just going to do the reverse of all these. Scissors, rock, and then rock, paper. And then finally, we'll just have paper, paper, scissors, scissors, rock, rock. It's a draw. Okay. So there we go. And then let's obviously call get results here too. So now, oops, ooh, get results is not defined. That's my fault. Get result. Woo, it's a draw. You win. I win again. It's a draw. Amazing. So we have now finished our second example of how you would build rock, paper, scissors in JavaScript and HTML. But very little HTML, let's be honest. It's just this one div. We've done most of it in JavaScript. So amazing. I hope you found this useful. I have one more example to show you. Now this example I want to show you because it actually uses the least amount of code, which can be problematic because with this, everything's quite split out, which gives us the opportunity to, you know, like make animations, maybe have like a little timer until the computer choice shows up and then we show the result, because at the moment everything's happening very quickly. But I'm going to show you the third way that I would solve this as a software developer. So let's do it. Okay, so once again, let's start with our HTML. Once again, there is no styling involved here because I want you to be in charge of doing that all by yourself and showing me how you did it. Okay, so once again, script tag. The script tag is, the source is the app.js file. It's just simply the app.js file name because it's in the root of our project, so we don't have to go into folders. And I'm making sure that is at the bottom of our body tags. Okay, now with this one, I'm once again just going to have a div. This time I'm going to say choices because I'm just going to have two divs here. Like I said, I'm trying to do this with the least amount of code this time, and then let's put an h2 tag here that has ID result like so. Now let's go into our app.js file where the magic happens. So once again, you guessed it, let's pick it out. So this time I'm going to use query selector because I haven't used that before. So I'm going to use query selector this time to pick out the ID. So I need to put a hash because I'm looking for the ID of result. And let's save that as const result display. Okay, so I've literally just picked out this. I picked out the h2 tags by the ID. And then let's also get the choices display document query selector choices thanks tab 9 because I'm looking for the ID of choices. That's what you need to do with query selector. Okay, so now that we have that, let's define our choices. I'm using const as they will not change. And once again, that is rock, paper, scissors. Okay, now this time I'm going to grab the choices array, and for each choice in my array. So I'm literally, for each of these, I am going to, well, I'm again going to create a button. So I'm going to use document create element, and I'm going to create a button. Let's store this as a button. It can be a const because it's block scoped. So making our button, I'm going to grab the button and use inner HTML to assign it the choice. So we don't have to do I or anything, so we're not looping, we're doing a for each this time. So I'm simply going to assign it rock, paper, or scissors as the inner HTML. We're not going to do ID in this one as we did before. And I'm going to grab the button and use add event listener to listen out for a click. And each time we click, we want to call the handle click function like so. And once again, I need to grab the choices display. So we're grabbing this here, right? And I'm going to use append child button. Cool. So once again, oops, let's copy the path. Handle click is not defined. Right, yeah, oops, I need to define that. So const handle click. And again, I'm using a function expression. I'm just going to console log clicked for now, so we can see that this is working so far. And we've done it. So this time we've used the for each instead of the for loop to create our buttons. If I now have a look in the choices, the div with the ID of choices, I see a button with inner HTML rock, button with inner HTML paper, and a button with inner HTML scissors. We did not bother adding the ID this time. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is handle the click. Now, this is going to be interesting. Instead of generating a computer choice, user choice, I'm just going to do everything at once. So I'm simply on the click going to go to the function get results. Okay, and into the function get results, I'm going to pass through two things. I'm going to pass through whatever we clicked. So remember, we need to get target inner HTML. That's how we did it last time. I'm going to pass through whatever we clicked, the inner HTML of the button that we clicked. So I'm going to either pass through rock if I click the button with inner HTML rock, or I'm going to pass through paper, or I'm going to pass through scissors. Okay, so I'm going to pass through that, and I'm also going to pass through a randomly generated choice by the computer. So once again, I'm going to use math random. Let's make this smaller. I'm going to multiply it by choices length. I'm going to wrap it in math floor to round it down. Like so. And then, of course, I'm going to get the array. I'm going to pass that through into my array. Okay? So let's just make sure we've got enough. Great. Okay, so what I could have done, if you're finding this difficult to read, is I could have just done const user choice equals the target, or const computer choice. And the computer choice is a random choice from our array, thanks to this code, and just done, going to pass through user choice and computer choice. So essentially, that is what I'm doing, okay? That is exactly the same as what I just wrote, okay? So I'm just going to put it back there for now because I just want to show you like different ways that people can work so you're aware of it. So that is the same thing. Maybe the other one's more readable, but this one's, I guess, less code. I personally wouldn't really do it this way. I'd make sure that it's more readable. But like I said, I'm just showing you different ways that people code. So I'm passing in through what we clicked, and I'm passing through a random choice from our array. Great. So I'm passing those two things in. Now let's write our const get results. And now, whatever the first parameter is, I'm going to say that is the user choice. And whatever the second parameter is, I'm going to say that's our computer choice. Right? Because it doesn't matter what we call it. I could call this bleh, for all JavaScript cats. So now, okay, well, I'm going to use the switch again. So switch, and I'm just going to do user choice plus computer choice. And I'm actually just going to use the same logic for this as I did in the previous one. So once again, case, scissors, paper, case, rock, scissors, rock, scissors. And then we have case, paper. That's going to, we're going to get the result display, and we're going to put you chose user choice and the computer chose computer choice. Result display. Why is that not? All right, oops. You chose user choice and computer chose computer choice. So that means you win, right? Because that's a winning combination for the user. Great. And then we break. Okay, so now we just have to do this again. So I'm just gonna move that up here. Format it a little nicer. So this time, let's do the reverse paper scissors, rock, paper. So this time we lose, and then just do it one more time for all the draws. So that's scissors, rock, paper, and then it's a draw. Okay, so that's it. This is definitely the shortest one. Let's check it out. So now if I click scissors, it immediately tells me you chose scissors, computer chose paper, I win. And once again, you chose paper, computer chose scissors, I lose. Amazing. So as I said, this is the least amount of code, and it does sort of do everything essentially in the get results function. But if I want to, make an animation, so make it a little like, I don't know, turning things, saying, the computer's thinking about their choice and then display the result later, this is going to make that very difficult. So while the JavaScript is great, that is something you have to take into consideration, and that is why you might want to choose to use option 2 over this. Okay, well, that's really it. I hope you've learned a lot today. I've really enjoyed showing you all the different ways that you can solve rock, paper, scissors in JavaScript. If you have any more, please do share them with me. Like, as always, JavaScript is great because there's so many solutions and so many ways you can do this game. Thanks so much again, and I'll see you